Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Smartphone Basics and Safety presentation. My name is Natalie DeCassola, and I'm a Community Outreach Specialist with Devoted Health. And I'm excited to have Lori Lewis joining us as well.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lori Lewis, and I'm a licensed insurance broker, and I'd like to thank both Elderwerks and Devoted Health for allowing me to present this information today. So while we're getting started, I hope everyone has their cell phones and their chargers nearby, because that's what we're going to be going over. And if you don't, I'm going to give you the opportunity to go and grab those. And during that time, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a licensed insurance broker. I primarily focus in the Medicare realm. And that means that I don't work for Devoted Health. Rather, I help and guide people through their Medicare options, whether Devoted will be the appropriate plan or another insurance carrier. So this information is really important today because we do need technology. And if you all are aware of, using apps like MyChart to access your medical records and those sorts of things, sometimes it gets confusing and overwhelming. And one thing that's great about Devoted is you can text with them. They're a very tech-savvy company. A lot of my clients have enjoyed that aspect of Devoted. But also, too, it's nice to be able to pick up the phone because, let's face it, things sometimes get lost in translation and we need a human to talk to. So Devoted, all of their services based in the U.S., and you have what are called guides if you have questions. So they really get to know you, and they do treat their members like family. So with that, I'd like to invite everyone to put into the chat whether or not you have an iPhone or an Android phone. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to go ahead and put that in there. And then after that, we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have some iPhones here. Okay. If you didn't hear me, I did ask if you could put into the chat whether or not you have an iPhone or an Android. Okay. All right, we have 2 iPhones, okay? And then, all right. So Natalie, would you like to go ahead and go to the next slide? Okay. Yes, we kind of went over that, but yes, Devoted Health is a Medicare Advantage plan, and they are the fastest growing Medicare Advantage plan in the United States currently. And again, very, very technology advanced. And a lot of my clients do enjoy the ability to be able to text with them. That's one thing that's fantastic. And they strongly want to be able to have this technology so you can communicate with your loved ones and you communicate with your health plan as well. Okay, so today, these are some of the topics that we're going to be going over. And it looks like that we're going to be mainly going over the iPhone features, okay? In case someone else comes in, I'll kind of monitor that, and hopefully they will put in what kind of device they have. So today we're going to be going over basically Apple, which is an iPhone, and also the iPad. And Android devices are Samsung or Google phones. And we'll be going over how to set up a passcode, your Face ID or screen lock, increasing the font size, which is important in your settings, adjusting your phone's volume, safe Wi-Fi settings, that's a big thing, okay, that people do need to be aware of. Updating your software and when you need to do it and how to make sure it's legitimate software update. Your location settings and why that's important, particularly being able to find your phone. Connecting your phone to Bluetooth or your iPad, and then scanning a QR code, lastly. Okay, so now we're going to go over the setting up a passcode. All right, so grab your phone, those iPhone users, okay, and you're going to swipe to unlock your device. And this little setting here is the settings icon, okay, on your phone. Kind of looks like a gear. And you're going to want to tap your Face ID and your passcode. That's one of the setting features under the settings icon, okay? And then you're going to tap to turn a passcode on, okay? And it will give you the ability to set up either a 6-digit passcode. So try and make it something that isn't, let's say, not your zip code, right? Because you want to make something that is, or the year that you were born, okay? So it's important to remember it. You know, you can write it down and keep it in a safe place, but you can either do a 6-digit or a 4-digit passcode. And then you're going to enter your passcode again to actually activate it, okay? And this is what it looks like on the iPhone and the iPad, okay, under that settings. And it is important to have this on. A lot of people do not lock their phones, okay? We have a lot of information on our phones, right? We have banking information sometimes. We have health records. We may have things in our notes section to remember, and you need to have this part on, because if someone grabs your phone, you don't want them to have access to this. So I highly encourage you to set that up. Okay? The Face ID. You are going to swipe to unlock your device, and then you're going to go back to the settings icon. And this is what you're going to tap on the Face ID and passcode, and this is how you're going to set it up. You're basically going to have this circle where you're going to need to make sure that your face is in the middle of that, and then you're going to hold that device, and it may ask you to kind of move the device a little bit to get a proper picture of your face. And then it will have this little, it's kind of like a little clock setting where it's going to go through, and it's going to have once it has the entirety of your face, to know what your face looks like, because let's face it, our faces look different, right? Depending on what we look like. And first thing in the morning, sometimes it could look a little different. So once you have that set up, you can unlock your phone that way, which is nice, right? To have. It's a nice feature of the iPhone and iPad. Okay. I don't think we have anyone in here that's using the Android, so we're not going to go over that. Okay. So increasing font size. We know that our eyes can get tired from looking at our phone, right? Looking at screens is sometimes it's hard on your eyes. So this is one thing that's great for you to be able to give your eyes a break. Okay, so we're going to go over that now. Again, these are what basically everything is going to look like under the settings icon. You're going to look for the display and brightness, and it's going to look like the pictures to your right here. You have the ability to have it in what's called light mode or dark mode. And so you're going to click on it how you want to see it. Some people, it just depends on your eyes. They prefer to have it in a light or dark. And then when we're looking at the text size, okay, you will see that you can click on this, and basically there's going to be a little thing that's kind of like the brightness where you're going to toggle it over, and you're going to have the ability to increase or decrease the text size, okay, on your iPhone or your iPad. Okay? All right, I don't think we need to worry that. Adjusting your phone's volume, okay? This is something that's really important, and let's face it, sometimes things change and our hearing changes, so this is where you can find how to adjust your phone volume, okay? So again, on the settings icon, you're going to go to the sounds and haptics, and you're going to slide that bar, okay, over to the side. There's also little buttons off to the side where you can also the upper part here. There's, I don't know, Natalie, if you can kind of show the that area right there is how you can change. You can either, on the upper button, you can raise the volume, and on the lower, you can lower the volume, okay? Sometimes it is easier because when you're in apps, you may need to go into this occasionally because some apps and things like Facebook, sometimes you have to go in and actually physically change some of these within this setting for the sound to actually play. So this is just another thing. If for some reason it's not working, these two buttons on the side aren't working, you can go to the sounds and haptics, okay, in the settings on your iPhone, okay? So Wi-Fi, all right? Again, we kind of take it for granted because a lot of places, depending on where you are, there may be a public Wi-Fi that you can connect to. That's not necessarily what we want to do though. So we're going to go over that, and then I'll explain to you kind of how to make sure that you're on a secure Wi-Fi. Okay. So again, in the settings app, you're going to tap on the Wi-Fi, slide it over, right? Let's say maybe you're in the mobile setting and you want to go into Wi-Fi, but you want to tap on the network. And I'm sure some of you have probably gone somewhere, or if you've ever been on an airplane, it will, sometimes networks will just pop up. Okay. And you'll go, oh, well, that I can go ahead and use that network. No, you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to. You want to make sure, let's say you're at McDonald's and you're grabbing a cup of coffee and you want to sit down. There aren't any newspapers. You just want to read some things on your phone. You can go to someone, go to a manager, go to someone at the cashier and go, what's your Wi-Fi setting here? Okay. And then you're going to put in, they'll go, okay, let's say it's McDonald's 1234 is their network. But there's a little lock here. Okay. So when you click on that McDonald's 1234, let's just give this example instead of Wi-Fi secure, you are going to be prompted to put in a password, okay? And then after you join, you'll see a blue check mark next to the Wi-Fi. And once you've added that password in, your phone will oftentimes remember that. So if the next week you're going to the McDonald's, you won't necessarily have that to ask them. That will be stored as a secure Wi-Fi that you've already gone into previously, okay? All right. So one thing that's really important, okay, so I do see a question. How secure is public Wi-Fi even if you're merely reading a paper? I wouldn't say it's you can't, anything that's public, I mean, you can't really know. Do I think that I would say it's secure if you're going to a major business, right? But if you don't know, you have to ask them, like how often they're doing security updates and checking things, right? I think, I wouldn't necessarily be getting into apps where there's personal information, right? If you're going on to just read a newspaper, there's probably less of an issue. But I don't think that people have as many scams. It's, let's say, if in the middle of reading the newspaper, you had a text or a notification that was like, you may not be in the right Wi-Fi, or you may not be, please click here, right? Those are often phishing. Okay. And so just don't click on those things. It's usually the way that they're able to get your information is if you're clicking on an outside link. Okay. That's really how people are scanning a QR code that you don't know, right? Those are the things that are majorly the biggest issues, in my opinion, from what I know. And from what in being in insurance, we have to deal with a lot of personal information and security. And that's basically what I would recommend, is asking them, how often they update their security measures. There's no real true way of knowing, though, other than, I wouldn't, like I said, be going on banking information. Yep. Yep. Exactly. What Natalie put in here, fake Wi-Fi networks. Exactly. Right? They're trying to, it's called phishing, right? They're trying to get some kind of link for you to click on it to give them access. All right? That's usually how they're able to do that. Exactly. Malicious redirects. Attackers can sometimes try to send users to fake logins or unsafe sites. Okay? This is kind of when we just went over that, really. I'd say libraries are probably obviously safer than a lot of places in public, though. Updating software. This is a huge thing. Okay. Staying up to date is a big deal when it comes to your security. All right. And this is how we're going to do it. Again, making sure that you are using the correct update the only way. Don't click on a link in an email. Don't do anything like that, because let's face it, information is public, right? If you have an iPhone, sometimes people have access to knowing that you have an iPhone. Like, there's a lot of information out there. The only way to know that it is a legitimate update is if you use the system, right? You have to go again into the settings, and you want to make sure that you're connected to Wi-Fi. And again, plug in your device, because sometimes these updates can take a while. Okay. So we want to make sure that our device is charged. So you're going to go to the settings. You're going to tap General, and you're going to tap on the Update Now, software update. And it says update now, or you can update it tonight. Some people choose to do it overnight. Right? And again, that's why you want to have your phone plugged in. And then you're going to tap the software update. You're going to download and install. Okay. And then install now. Okay. If you're going to do it right away, or if you choose to do the update tonight, it will do it later, as long as your phone is on and unlocked. Okay. So the little red circle by the settings, that is where you can see if it's a legitimate update, right? If there's an update, if there's a 1 here, that means yes, there's an update you need to do. You may be behind, and maybe it says more, but that's where you're going to make sure that you do your update, the only place. Okay. Location settings. How many of us have put our phone down somewhere and can't remember where we put it, right? It's important to have this on with your iPhone. Okay. And again, it's all in the settings. You're going to open your settings. You're going to tap on your name. Okay. And then because, maybe let's say you share a phone with someone else, okay? Or updates to your iPhone apps. We'll go over that in a little bit toward the end, okay? You're going to tap on your phone, you're on your name, and use Find My, okay? And if you want your friends and family to know where you are, turn on Share My Location, okay? I know not some of us kind of feel like that we don't want everyone to know our location, but I mean, it is important sometimes, right? Like things can happen. We're out driving, we can get in a car accident, some things can happen. That's just the reality. So you definitely want to turn this on, not only to share location with your family or friends, okay, but also just to find your device, okay? So you can basically, let's say, if you have that Find My iPhone on, when you tap on Find My iPhone, okay, and then you turn it on, it can help you basically by giving you a pinging noise. It'll kind of be like a bell dinging to let you know where your phone is. Let's say you're upstairs and your phone's downstairs. It will help you do that. If not, if you do not have the volume on, okay, it will vibrate, okay, because obviously the volume's not on, so you can't know where that ping is. But again, that's one thing, even for yourself, just to know where your phone is. And it will also allow you, like, let's say you leave your phone somewhere else. Let's say you're out and about and you leave it at a grocery store or something, or at the pharmacy, you set down your phone because you were looking at something. It will give you your last location, okay, as well. All right, next thing is connecting to Bluetooth, right? Bluetooth is kind of cool. Natalie and I were just discussing last night that there's so much technology now with Bluetooth and advances of hearing aids. Some of the hearing aids will actually connect to Bluetooth on your phone, which is fantastic. But also there are some smart TVs that will actually allow your hearing aids to connect to your TV. So as far as your phone goes, on your iPhone, you're going to open your settings, okay? And you're going to tap the Bluetooth, okay? And look for the accessory on the list. If you're like me, obviously we've got our car in there. We may have two cars in there. We may have different AirPods or different kinds of earbuds that we use, okay? So sometimes it will say the iPhone is discoverable as iPhone 4, right? Our phones have like a name attached to it. Okay, let's say we have an iPhone and an iPad. All right, let's say we want to connect our iPhone to the Bluetooth to our Apple Watch. Okay, this here will show, you will click on the various items that you want to connect it to. Just be aware that sometimes you have to disconnect from other things, right? So let's say that you want to put it on your AirPods and it's connected to your Apple Watch. Sometimes you have to disconnect and pair again, okay? So play around with it a little bit. It's important to know how to use Bluetooth, okay? So, Jeff, one thing you asked about iPhone app, okay? Everything with iPhone is through the App Store. So the App Store, if you know the App Store, the little icon, there's an icon that looks, it's kind of like an A. It's a blue with a light kind of A. That is where you can go in and update your apps. and then you're going to tap on your profile picture. Okay. So like for me, it has my initials. I don't have my profile picture up there. Okay. So I would just tap on my initials, and then it shows right under there what app updates are available. It has my name and my account info, my payments, my passwords, and everything. Again, everything in your internal phone is what you want to click on to see if it's a legitimate update. Okay? Legitimate updates are all within the settings in your phone. And in this case, in the app store that's part of the phone. Okay? But you can also turn on automatic updates. And again, that's if you choose to. Some people do not want to do that, right? So if you want to, you can go in and open settings. You can tap your apps, tap the app store, and then turn on updates under automatic downloads. Okay. So Jeff, you may want to take notes on that. Okay, since it's there. All right. The next thing we're going to go over now is scanning a QR code. All right. QR codes became a really big thing, particularly within restaurants, when we were kind of doing no contact, right? So people weren't sharing germs on menus. And now they're just kind of a way for people, sometimes people will use them to help schedule an appointment. Sometimes you'll see them on TV commercials where there's a medication and it will, it will say scan the QR code to get more information. So with that is all through your camera. All right. So you are going to open your camera in your phone, and then you're going to point your camera like you're going to take a picture. All right. And there will be this small banner, and they have it down here. It's the small banner will appear. And it will basically have, in this case, it just says Apple, right? But it will be a little code. It will be something that you click a link to. And once you click that link, it will take you to a website. Okay. The biggest thing with QR codes is this. If we don't know where the QR code is from, all right, we don't necessarily want to scan it. It's one of those things where, people will sometimes, again, I wouldn't like it. Let's say you're on Facebook Marketplace and you want to buy something. People just putting QR codes up that you don't know, okay, or isn't like a major corporation, I would be leery of doing that. Okay. I would probably be even leery of doing that at a cafe. Okay. If it's a brochure that you don't know about and you don't really know the company, I would be a little bit leery of that. Okay. Because let's say you do scan the code though, and you're going, what is this? They said to scan this code. And it brings you to something that you're going, I don't even understand. That's not why are they asking me for all this personal information? Yeah, that's a red flag right there. You don't need to put that in, okay? Natalie put, again, it's a phishing expedition. It's a way to get information. And oftentimes they'll try to look like a legitimate company, like a bank, a healthcare provider, a payment service. Again, it can be to use you to put in your username, password. Again, your Medicare information. Again, we don't give that to just anyone, or payment details, right? And then some do have that with malware kind of downloads. So we want to make sure that we don't just go ahead and start putting in information, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. If it doesn't feel right, don't fill it out, okay? Again, payment requests, she has that in here as well. And then too good to be true offers, right? Like on things that just don't make sense, right? Prizes, discounts, those sorts of things they're a way to get personal information, okay? Hey, so with your phone, here's one thing that you can do right now is you can practice your scanning the QR code right now here, right? And I'm going to do this along with you. Sorry, my browser was taking a while. And can anyone tell me what, where it took you to? What website it is? Anyone? Okay. Well, it took me to the devoted.com website. Okay. And so if you want to go ahead and try again, it went through my browser. I use Google Chrome a lot as my browser. So if you use Safari, it would connect you to that browser and then go right into devoted.com's website.